The KEEL Morning Show with Robert J. Wright and Aaron McCarty on News Radio 710 KEEL.
Good morning, 7:03 at News Radio 710 KEEL. Robert and Aaron. She has local news just a couple of seconds away.
Hundreds of folks turn out for National Night Out. Beware the creepy clowns. And a new commander at Barksdale.
Okay, Congressman Dr. John Fleming in studio at about 12 past. Lots to talk about. Speaking of the debate, we will pretend we saw it and cared. Plus, more on, I'm not fascinated. I will say what I said last hour. This clown stuff is nothing more than Colin Kaepernick with a rubber nose. I will explain. Fletcher Sports, traffic, and weather on the 9s all coming up this hour right here, News Radio 710 KEEL.
The KEEL Morning Report. Now on News Radio 710 KEEL.
National Night Out draws hundreds of folks as a way to get to know neighbors. Interim Shreveport Police Chief Alan Crump.
Hopefully, we'll get to a point to where it's not just this one night, but this feeling, this type of atmosphere will be one that will carry on from day to day, because after tonight, we still are citizens and residents of this city, and our safety, welfare, and well-being is still important.
The creepy clown craze, serious business. That's the word from Bossier Sheriff Julian Whittington, who says anyone caught making online threats will be arrested.
We're not too young to go to jail. We just arrested a 15-year-old and two 14-year-olds for terrorizing. How would you like to bring your child to jail and book them in and they're terrorists? So far, all this has turned out to be just child's play, kidding. They don't realize what they're doing.
School Superintendent Scott Smith says it saddens him to know there are young people who will stoop to these types of measures.
Obviously, we're going to do everything we can as a school system to constantly educate our students on the appropriate use of social media. It's come to that point.
There's a new commander at Barksdale. Matt Parker has that.
Major General Thomas Boussier officially took command of the 8th Air Force Tuesday afternoon. Before taking this position, Boussier served as Deputy Director of Nuclear Homeland Defense and Current Operations at the Pentagon. The 8th Air Force is one of only two active-duty Air Force units in the Air Force Global Strike Command and has more than 20,000 airmen. I'm Matt Parker, News Radio 710 KEEL.
The iconic Shreveport Country Club, which was opened in 1909, has closed. The club's management team says despite a full renovation and upgrade, the club must conclude formal operations immediately. The governor and Biomed have renegotiated a management deal that keeps BRF operating the LSU charity hospitals in Shreveport and Monroe. State Representative Cedric Glover says there's something he thought was crucial to getting this done.
And it's something that the folks from the Biomedical Research Foundation, or BRF, have been asking for since the very beginning, and that is to be able to resolve disputes between themselves and the medical school and LSU through binding arbitration.
State Senator Greg Tarver says his main concern is about the patients at University Health.
I've been in this political game a long time, and politics is compromise, and I'm willing to work with anyone that is willing to deliver good services, good healthcare services to the people, regardless, whoever it may be.
The full conversation with both men at 710keel.com. The search committee looking for a new University of Louisiana system president has recommended a candidate, Dr. Jim Henderson, president of NSU in Natchitoches. tells KEEL News he's looking to help the 90,000 college students across our state.
Tuition has gone up substantially over the last 10 years to offset some of the state disinvestment in higher education. We've got to figure out a balance there. We have priced a lot of our students out, made it unaffordable for them to go to college. So we've got to figure those parts out. And so it's not just the lack of money, but it's this total balance, this total picture. How do we maximize access and ensure a quality product for these students?
Dr. Henderson to be interviewed tomorrow. After getting very little attention, Indiana Governor Mike Pence and Virginia Senator Tim Kaine have shared the spotlight in their one and only debate. Republican Pence outlined a detailed conservative agenda on tax policy and immigration. Democrat Kaine pushed aggressively for Pence to defend controversial statements made by Donald Trump. It's more than golfers can bear. Really sorry about that. Wildlife officials are looking for a black bear cub that's been spotted on a golf course in Utah, causing all kinds of havoc. Partly cloudy today with the high temp close to 90. Right now it is 69. I'm Erin McCarty on News Radio 710 KEEL.
Nine past 7, it's News Radio 710 KEEL traffic and weather updates. Right now, Rapid Ruben.
Just received reports of a minor accident on the I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. And be on the lookout for slow-moving traffic on Uri Drive and East Kings Highway due to construction. If you have anything to report to us, feel free to dial your Planet Fitness traffic hotline at 687-ROAD.
Scatter clouds possible today across the area. We're going to go for partly cloudy skies. Chance of rain, about a 10% chance. Forecast highs close to 90 degrees for today. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So still above average temperatures expected. I'm Fox 33 meteorologist Patrick Dennis.
Good morning. It's 12 past 7 o'clock at News Radio 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. And sitting between us, Congressman Dr. John Fleming. Dr. John, a pleasure as always.
Good morning, Robert and Erin. Great to be with you.
We are streaming on the YouTube page or on the KEEL YouTube channel or Facebook. Parky, which one is it, or is it both?
Both.
Oh, cool. Okay. Very cool.
You're like a genius. How
Just
did
like
you...
yesterday.
I didn't know yesterday.
That's because you're old and don't pay attention.
I looked up there. I panicked. Dr. John, first thing, Erin wanted to know, did you watch the vice presidential debate last night? I personally not only avoid the VP debate last night, but all the presidential debates, and I'll tell you why. There's nothing she could say. There's literally nothing that could happen in one of those debates.
But she could keel over dead. Don't you want to know who's next in line?
It's not her. No, there's nothing. Hillary, look, it's not like there's not going to be video highlights. There's literally, and I've said this 1,000 times, and it goes back, the first time I said this was when it was Cassidy and Landrieu. And you said, will you watch the debate? I said, no. You said, why? I said, there's nothing Mary Landrieu could ever say that would get me to vote for her.
Oh, you thought she was hot.
Okay, so if you were going to base your vote for president based on hot.
Oh, I like Pence better than all of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, did you watch the VP debate last night?
Well, I did. As much as I could tolerate, I can't stand it when people interrupt each other. Mm-hmm. You can't follow what they're saying. So I did watch it, and I was very proud of my friend Mike Pence. He served in the House with me before he became governor of Indiana, and he was really my mentor. A little factoid.
So you know him well, pardon me.
Oh, absolutely. Knew him, worked with him. But a little factoid, do you know how what did he do before he became a congressman?
He was a radio guy.
He was a radio guy.
Oh.
A talk show guy.
So he's a pro at the media, and it really came out last night. It really showed.
They just, I'm waiting for Sunday night. That's what I'm really waiting for. I want to see another one of those. I want to see another Duke 'em out. And see how it goes.
You watch it for nothing more than the gotcha moments, which leads me to believe that that whatever they say regarding policy or anything else, you don't really care about. It's a NASCAR race to you. You're waiting for the crash.
I'm waiting for the yellow flag.
It's a morbid fascination with what could happen.
Exactly what
Well,
it is.
thanks for stopping by.
Let's turn to the Senate race.
I'll see you at Cracker Barrel in 10 minutes.
Because the numbers have shifted in the Senate race, and you're in the middle of that, and you're traveling the state, been in New Orleans. There's folks that say that this was a 2-horse show. Now it looks like it's kind of spreading out.
Yeah, it's the numbers have been moving, and look, I've said all along that John Kennedy, he's a nice guy. He's well liked around the state, but remember he ran for Senate twice before and lost. And people have told me time and time again they like him, but they like him to stay where he's at. They're not really interested in sending him to Washington. And so what we saw was he was cleverly running poll after poll after poll that used his name identification. I mean, if my name was George Washington, I'd run a bunch of polls too.
Yeah, or Ronald Reagan. You
exactly,
do well,
of course.
Yeah.
So he was using that cleverly. But once I began to introduce myself and others themselves through TV ads and so forth, the numbers began to change drastically. So the last poll that was done shows me in a tie for first, and John Kennedy has dropped back in the pack, 3 points behind me and going down. And I think it's going to things are going to sort out here pretty soon. I think we'll see who the real front runner is.
Do you think? Go ahead, baby. I'm
what
sorry.
sets you apart from John Kennedy, Congressman Boustany? To a lot of people, it's like, oh, these are the Republicans. They're going to talk bad about President Obama, etc.
Two major things. Number one, they're both establishment Republicans. I know John Kennedy claims that he's not, but his endorsements are all elected officials from around the state. Same is true of Charles Boustany. I, on the other hand, have been endorsed by 16 national conservative organizations like Club for Growth, Eagle Forum, Family Research Council, solid conservative organizations. I'm an outsider. I'm the guy who co-founded the House Freedom Caucus that forced Speaker Boehner to resign. I'm the one who's led the effort to impeach John Koskinen, head of the IRS. So I'm clearly anti-establishment, different from Boustany and Kennedy. And the other thing is I have by far the most conservative voting record. There's no question about that, both in the delegation and in this race. So I'm the most conservative. I'm the most anti-establishment. And there are other things, too. I'm a military veteran. That's unusual today in Washington. And also a business owner. I created 500 jobs. I still have over 500 employees today in the private business sector. Very, very, very few people in Washington have that kind of experience and understand the economy at a granular level as I do.
On the Democrat side, there's Caroline Fayard and Foster Campbell. Do you think that having two Dems in the race splitting that part of the vote, do you see in the general election, not in December, it's not outrageous to think, in fact, I would say the odds are pretty good that the general election is going to have two Republicans.
Very, very possible. Of course, I will consider it still a Republican versus Democrat race, even if there's two Republicans, because compared to me, Bustani or Kennedy will be Democrats. So you'll still get your Democrat versus Republican choice, even in December, if there are two.
That brings up this. You probably saw the piece in the Advocate this week that said that you and Colonel Manus are, vying for the ultra-conservative part of the party.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Finish the question. We'll go to break. Dr. John can answer when we get back.
And that it would be critical for one of you to break away to make the runoff. We'll talk about that in a minute.
News Radio 710, KEEL, Fletcher, and Sports is coming up next. This part of the show powered by Avalone Door and Ironworks, raising garage door standards one home at a time. KEEL News Radio time is 7:18. News Radio 710 KEEL, traffic and weather just ahead right now. Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. Ed Orgeron believes he will have the interim tag removed from his title as head coach of the LSU Tigers. His source, Ed Orgeron. Talking to ESPN.com the morning after the Missouri win, the South Louisiana native said, quote, "Listen, this thing here," end quote, talking about the head coaching post, "I'm going to get it. If we do what we need to do, I feel in my heart I'm going to get it." Chris Lowe, the writer who picked up the quote from Orgeron, wrote Tuesday that if LSU can beat Alabama, they might sign him to a new contract before midnight. The Major League playoffs began with a bang Tuesday night in Toronto. The one-game American League wildcard game between the Blue Jays and Baltimore Orioles ended on Edwin Encarnacion's walk-off three-run homer in the 11th inning. The 5-2 win sends the Jays to Arlington to face the Rangers in an AL Division Series that starts tomorrow afternoon. Orioles Cy Young candidate closer Zach Britton, a perfect 47 for 47 in save opportunities, warmed up 3 separate times during the loser leaves the playoffs matchup, but never entered the game. Orioles manager Buck Showalter said after the game he wanted Britton available if the game went longer. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Still keeping an eye on that minor accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. And they're about to turn on those school zone lights any minute now. Please use caution when driving around the school zones. If you have anything to report to us, feel free to dial your Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Scatter clouds possible today across the area. We're going to go for partly cloudy skies. Chance of rain, about a 10% chance. Forecast highs close to 90 degrees for today. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So still above average temperatures expected. I'm Fox 33 meteorologist Patrick Dennis.
morning, 723 at News Radio 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Aaron McCarty. And in studio for another segment is Congressman Dr. John Fleming. So, back to your question.
A piece this week in The Advocate, Roy Fletcher, the political campaign veteran strategist, whatever they want to call him, says that there's going to be a battle for the right-wing vote, the ultra-conservative vote, between you and Colonel Rob Maness, and that one of you would have to break away and be a front runner between the two to make the runoff. Agree?
Well, first of all, I reject the moniker of ultra-right-wing. Since when does anyone call Foster Campbell
ultra left wing?
Yeah. See, look, my policies go along with John Kennedy, who is a Democrat. Lower taxes, a strong national defense. Since when has that become an ultra right wing concept? So first of all, I reject that label at all. But
did you just call John Kennedy a Democrat?
I'm talking about John F. Kennedy.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Okay, gotcha.
Well, remember, the other John Kennedy, the one in this race, was a Democrat most of his political life.
You're right, absolutely.
And he was also a big supporter of John Kerry for president, and he opposed the Bush tax cuts. So we can go on and on about that. But anyway, as far as the question with Rob Maness, again, I consider Rob Maness to be part of the establishment. The only political contribution we can find he's ever made was to a liberal Democrat who supported Obamacare back in 2010 and opposed a Tea Party Republican. And even though he says he's against farm subsidies, accepted them for himself. So once again, rhetoric is rhetoric. But, my record is very clear. I have the most conservative voting record in our Louisiana delegation among other congressmen and senators and in this race. So that is unimpeachable.
Pardon me, Dr. John, I can hear people jumping up and down right now. You just said that yourself, a multi-term congressman, is not part of the establishment, but a guy who's not in government, Colonel Rob Maness, is part of the establishment. Clarify that one for everybody.
Well, again, establishment is based on what you do and how you behave. Just because you can't get elected does not mean that you're not part of the establishment. There are a lot of establishment Republicans who've never been elected to office. I, on the other hand, have been elected, of course, to this congressional district several times. But from day one, I was opposed by the establishment. I've opposed the establishment. I co-founded the House Freedom Caucus that forced Speaker Boehner to resign. I've gone against the establishment of both parties, and they have gone against me. They've retaliated against me. They've tried to dry up my fundraising. So there's no question I've established myself as an outsider and anti-establishment, and I'm proud of that fact because we need to change Washington and get back to the core principles, the Louisiana conservative values that are so important and what we really want out of Washington.
You have your big boy britches on. I know you probably do. There are those who say, and we haven't had a senator from Louisiana from north of Alexandria since Bennett Johnston.
Yes.
It's a tough road to hoe. We all know that. And there are some that say, you really are kind of done with politics and want to come home and run your business and get back to your practice. And that this is a way where you can say, oh, I got beat fairly. I'm going to move on and get back to my life. I'm hearing it. I know other people are hearing it. Are you hearing it?
That's the first I've ever heard that. I've been working on this race for nearly 2 years, working very hard and spend a lot of time in South Louisiana. And actually, we polled the question, North versus South, and what we found is that people don't care where someone is from. They care about how good of a candidate they really are. And the other thing to note is that we have consolidated North Louisiana behind us. So that's the reason why you're not seeing many ads from other candidates up here, because quite frankly, we've got enough votes up here to be in the runoff just from North Louisiana, both east and west. But here's the question to ponder. We have a medical school that we could easily lose to Baton Rouge. We're really terrified of that. It could destroy our medical community. And there is no statewide elected official from North Louisiana. And I want to be elected so that I can look out for the vital interest of North Louisiana, not just our medical school and our charity hospital up here, which has been privatized, but it's still a charity hospital. But also look at the waterway, look at the infrastructure we have. When I meet with people from all around the state, all we hear about is Baton Rouge and New Orleans-centric questions. What about I-10? What about the waterways in New Orleans? Nobody talks about our infrastructure here in North Louisiana. So we vitally need, very importantly need, a statewide elected official from North Louisiana. And polling tells us that it's very doable. It's just a matter of getting people out and supporting our campaign.
And you're going to have to do a lot of work in South Louisiana, I assume.
Oh, yeah, I do. But we're also working up here. In fact, when it comes to being at forums and debates, no one has been present more than I have. I've been present at more debates and forums in South Louisiana than those who are from South Louisiana. And in fact, I've been to more St. Tammany Parish events than John Kennedy, and he lives in St. Tammany Parish. Baton Rouge the same. So we have really worked out the logistics and made sure that we were going to perform 100% at every aspect of our campaign. And we have by far the most sophisticated, cutting-edge grassroots portion of this campaign as well. We've had over 350,000 calls out throughout the state from our sophisticated call system with 80 college students who work for us. They're actually paid. We call them our interns, and they get college credit for what they do. So we're connecting and having conversation with people throughout the state. No, we're 110% committed to winning this race.
Congressman John Fleming, candidate for Senate. Thank you for coming in.
Always a pleasure.
Dr. John, a pleasure as always. News Radio 710 KEEL. Aaron, local news is just a couple of seconds away. Traffic and weather updates up next on KEEL. News Radio 710 KEEL traffic time. You betcha. Here's Ruben.
Still keeping an eye on that minor accident on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. And they're about to turn on those school zone lights any minute now. Please use caution when driving around the school zones. If you have anything to report to us, feel free to dial your Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Scatter clouds possible today across the area. We're going to go for partly cloudy skies. Chance of rain, about a 10% chance. Forecast highs close to 90 degrees for today. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So still above average temperatures expected. I'm Fox 33 meteorologist Patrick Dennis.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Hundreds of local residents gather for National Night Out. Interim Shreveport Police Chief Alan Crump.
Yes, National Night Out is an excellent tool, excellent event to meet the different citizens, interact with them, all the first responders, all the citizens, to let everyone know that as a community, we should always look out for each other's well-being. We should always come together for the good of everybody.
Dozens of parties were held across Shreveport and Bossier. A deal's been reached that keeps Biomedical Research Foundation operating the LSU charity hospitals in Shreveport and Monroe. State Representative Cedric Glover says one big thing he thought was crucial in getting this done was the ability to resolve disputes through binding arbitration.
That is something that the state, the governor, the LSU folks, the med school folks would never be willing to accept. It was very similar to their premature effort last year in filing lawsuit to end the contract. And they went to court and the judge told them, guys, you haven't put forth a good faith effort to try and resolve and address your conflicts. And so he threw it out.
State Senator Greg Tarver says he doesn't think this is a done deal yet, but he's hoping all the bickering is over.
I think the University of Health got a good deal. I think the LSU Medical School, I hope and pray that they stop arguing and fighting each other and move forward. Regardless if you don't like the deal, it's a deal.
See more of our conversation with both at 710keel.com. There's a new commander at Barksdale. Major General Thomas Boussier officially took command of the 8th Air Force. Before taking this post, he served as Deputy Director of Nuclear, Homeland Defense, and Current Operations at the Pentagon. Former school administrator pleads guilty. Matt Parker with that.
David Manning, former headmaster at Central School in Grand Cane, has pled guilty to inappropriate contact with a juvenile. A DeSoto Parish grand jury indicted Manning earlier this year for indecent behavior with a 13-year-old girl. Sentencing will take place later this year. Manning could get time behind bars or a probated sentence. He will also have to register as a sex offender with the state. I'm Matt Parker, News Radio 710 KEEL.
The iconic Shreveport Country Club, which was opened in 1909, has closed. The club's management team says despite a full renovation and upgrade, the club must conclude formal operations immediately. Caddo Parish District Attorney James Stewart is cracking the whip on residents who have defrauded businesses by writing bad checks. Angela Thomas with that.
Starting in mid-September, 2 Caddo sheriff's deputies contracted by the DA began the process of tracking down the writers of almost 100 bad checks. They've worked about 20 cases so far and will continue until all the culprits have been rounded up. If you've written a bad check and don't want to wait for that knock on the door, you can go to the Caddo DA's Hot Checks Division to make things right. Angela Thomas, 710 KEEL.
In 4 games this season, LSU starting quarterback Danny Etling has thrown just 1 interception. He goes up against a Florida defense this Saturday that's picked off 8 passes. Etling says the Gators have a very talented defense.
It's going to be a nice test for us offensively. They're fly around and make a lot of plays on defense. They'll lock you down sometimes and take away what you want to do. So it's going to be a test, and obviously, it's something we're up for, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
LSU faces Florida at 11 a.m. Saturday morning. No move of the game despite the Hurricane Matthew headed toward the Florida Atlantic coast on tomorrow night. Partly cloudy with our high temp today near 90 degrees. Right now it's 72. I'm Erin McCarty on News Radio 710 KEEL.
.36 at News Radio 710 KEEL. Robert and Aaron. Did you happen to see the video? It was the Chicago Bears and the I want to say Detroit Lions game Sunday, when the guy in the gorilla suit ran onto the field.
I saw the replay
with the T-shirt that said "All Lives Matter," and the announcers went crazy that literally they'd never seen anything so overtly racist and turn your heads away because this is horrible, et cetera, et cetera. But did you see who it was?
No, I did not.
I'm going to show you a picture of the fellow in the gorilla suit who ran onto the field in the All Lives Matter shirt.
All right.
Hold on just a second. There he is. His name is, that's him.
Wow.
He was a black guy.
Yeah. That's cool.
What was cool about that?
Well, I didn't know that. I would have assumed it was not a black guy.
Aha!
Well, that's cool that it is.
Why?
I just think everybody should be saying all lives matter.
But he's wearing a gorilla suit. Don't you see that as either? Don't you see? Look. I mean, they were assuming it was a hate-filled Trump supporter. What?
That was a Harambe thing, by the way.
That was a hate-filled Trump supporter who was denigrating the noble Black Lives Matter movement. And he was. I mean, they were saying horrible things. Who would do something like that?
Yeah.
Obviously, some horribly racist, probably from Louisiana guy out there who you know is going to vote for Trump and hates women and hates blacks and hates gays. And it turns out to be some black guy from was it not Pennsylvania? Where was he from? I forget now.
Wasn't he from Cincinnati or Ohio?
You may be right.
Which I think relates to the other thing. It's crazy,
boy.
folks.
Boy, it's everywhere now. It's everywhere now. What did I see in here? There was a
Everybody wants to be, what did I say about the clowns? Everybody wants to be the next viral video.
Goodness.
And I said last hour, and you looked at me, your eyes, what do you mean? And I said, all this creepy clown craze is nothing more than Colin Kaepernick with a rubber nose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see people after Colin Kaepernick, there were more NFL players, there were college players, there were high school people not even at athletic events now are taking it, and 99% of those have no idea why they would do that. They just know that they want to be in this YouTube generation, in this era of Facebook. Everybody just wants to be the next viral video. And so you see all these people, clowns, creepy clowns in the woods, and no one knows who they are. And now you see everybody doing creepy clown stuff,
yes,
hoping they'll be the next social media sensation.
It's just, what's next? Where do we stop? It just keeps getting crazier and crazier. I just don't get it.
Scare you, does it?
Yeah.
It's about damn time. News Radio 710 KEEL 739. Robert and Aaron from LSUS, Professor Dr. Jeff Sato, to discuss last night's debate and this Sunday's presidential get-together. That's coming up next on News Radio 710 KEEL Traffic Time.
Looking at our usual slow-moving traffic on North Market near I-220, and it looks like we have some traffic delays on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway due to construction. If you have anything to report to us, feel free to dial your Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Scatter clouds possible today across the area. We're going to go for partly cloudy skies. Chance of rain, about a 10% chance. Forecast highs close to 90 degrees for today. Winds are out of the southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour, so still above average temperatures expected. I'm Fox 33 meteorologist Patrick Dennis.